All these wide receivers want this big money trail. We saw that Davante Adams push himself out of Green Bay, and now he's playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. Tyreek Hill pushed himself out of Kansas City, and now he's playing for Miami. And now one of the more prolific offensive players in all of the NFL, in Deebo Samuel, reached out to the 49ers management and told them, I want to be traded. And we all know with Tyreek Hill, the money that he's got, and Davante Adams, the money what he's gotten, you would think that Deebo Samuel would want to stay with the 49ers if they could somehow make a deal where he could be making between 20 and 25 million. He reached out to the 49ers and said that he does not want to be signed with the 49ers. He wants to move out east. He wants to move closer to his family in South Carolina. And so the open markets have opened like the Red Sea. And the New York Jets obviously are going to plant their jet in San Francisco because the Jets have been looking for that big end number one wide receiver. Deebo Samuel, who's been in the league for 3 years, still has a lot of football left, was one of the more fun wide receivers to watch last year in all of football, is now going to be available. The Jets, who have 2 first-round draft picks, all that draft stock. Now, the 49ers have given up a ton of draft stock for Trey Lance. Looking at the Jets and what they have at number 10 and maybe a 3rd or 4th round draft pick to get Deebo Samuel, they have that 10 pick. They can obviously go and get themselves a younger wide receiver. I don't know if he's going to be a Deebo Samuel, but if you remember 3 years ago, Deebo Samuel was a 2nd round draft pick.
And wasn't really thought of as that either. He was thought of as maybe the 5th wide receiver in that draft. He was the 2nd one drafted.
Do the Jets pull the trigger? It's not just the Jets that are interested in. We've heard Baltimore. We've heard the Cowboys. Why not kick the can and see if you can land one of the more talented top 5 wide receivers in all of football?
And the other thing, how his trade value is going to be with 2 reasons. One, right before the draft, which the closer it gets to the draft, the less reluctant teams are going to trade that high of picks, and the Jets are drafting in the top 10. And the other thing, too, is we've seen player value go down if you're trying to force your way out. The Jets will definitely not need to trade number 4 pick at this point. Number 10 is still up there, maybe along with another, like you were saying, a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick at this point, because I don't think he'll get traded for the 5 picks that Tyreek Hill did, because he's not Tyreek Hill, and he's not better than Davante Adams. Even though he's younger and he can be used as a running back, he can be used all the things, I don't think he'll warrant what Davante Adams got either, going back to the Packers.
I think he's as good as Tyreek Hill. Now, he's not as fast as Tyreek Hill, but he can do just as much as Tyreek Hill. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball, he can throw the ball. We've seen him do all those things, and I think the type of scheme that the Jets like to play, he fits that scheme, and that's the type of guy that the Jets are looking for to get arguably the best player for that scheme, and he becomes available on the team that Mike LaFleur was the wide receiving coach when he was a rookie. This fits like a glove for the New York Jets, and they get their guy. Now they have Elijah Moore, Deebo Samuel. If they keep Mims, I don't think they're going to keep Mims.
No, he might be part of the trade, too. Don't be surprised. If they end up trading for a receiver, rather than having to trade all those extra picks that the other teams might have to, the Jets might package Mims. Now, I don't think the 49ers make a lot of sense, but they could trade him somewhere else, too.
The Jets will have their 2 prolific guys, and they have Corey Davis there, and Berrios. They went from one of the worst wide receiving cores in the NFL to one of the best, if you had Deebo Samuel. Because Corey Davis, he's a good number 3, number 2. You have Elijah Moore, could be a number 1 in the future. Braxton Berrios, who's like a Julian Edelman type of guy who gets special teams, he could do everything in that scheme. So the Jets could turn into one of the more fun offensive teams in the AFC, especially if Zach Wilson actually develops. So It's going to be very interesting in the next couple of days and where this draft goes. And with the Jets at number 4, I've heard that the Jets interviewed Kayvon Thibodeaux. Looks like he could fall to the Jets. And if that happens, the Jets could get the pass rusher they've been looking for a very long time.
That would be a dream scenario for the Jets because they need a speed rusher on this defense for sure. Carl Lawson missed all last year. I think he'll come back fine. I'm not worried about that kind of thing. But the Kayvon Thibodeaux has the upside, if he stays healthy, to be better.
By the way, Carl Lawson looks really, really good when he's training.
But Kayvon Thibodeaux is a pass rushing prospect we only see very few of when it comes to a speed rusher of that caliber. Carl Lawson was a good prospect, but I don't think he was the prospect of that kind of caliber, too. So you have that as a tandem to go along with the inside that's already been very good. We've seen Robert Saleh's defensive scheme be very good, especially with power rushers inside. They got John Franklin Myers healthier this year. Sheldon Rankins had a lot of injury issues last year. He'll be healthy. So they have that combination to go along with somebody like Kayvon Thibodeaux and Carl Lawson. They can have that lethal pass rush that you could take over again. We saw some good flashes already from the secondary. That would be a dream scenario for the Jets if somehow he does end up falling, which is looking more and more likely because both the Jaguars and Lions are interested in possibly taking Trayvon Walker. We've heard Houston interested in a defensive back. maybe those scenarios do fall well for the Jets where Thibodeau's there at 4.
That would be a very good move for the New York Jets. They get the wide receiver that they've really been asking for, and then they get arguably the best pass rusher in this year's draft. They put themselves in a very good position, especially a powerhouse AFC. Are the Jets going to be a Super Bowl contender this year? No. But if you add a Deebo Samuel this year and a Kayvon Thibodeaux, and they can stay healthy, they could be a borderline playoff team this year. And then next year, people are going to be talking about the New York Jets being that contender with the money that they're going to have still on the board where they can add a player or two. Even if they pay a Deebo Samuel, they're still going to have money. The Jets are positioned very, very well to succeed, especially with the players that they have. As far as the Giants are concerned, the Giants are going to be drafting at 5 and 7. The interesting thing about this draft is the Giants are going to get themselves 2 really good players. Now, do they draft the pass rusher at number 5, or do they draft the offensive lineman at number 5? And at 5 and 7, Speedy, do they draft both offensive line talent over there in the first round?
I'm not against it if they do it 2 offensive linemen, but the Giants haven't had a consistently good offensive line since 2008. Even their Super Bowl team in 2011, a lot of it was patched together because they had a lot of injury issues. And since then, it's really been abysmal, no matter who's been the coach, no matter who's been the quarterback. So, yeah, there's definitely scenarios for that to happen. And we were talking about the weird scenarios before with the Jaguars and the Lions and the Texans at the top 3. That could leave other offensive linemen available for the Giants, too, where they can get a combination of Ekwonu and Cross, or a combination of Ekwonu and Lindenbaum, or something like that. There's a lot of offensive line needy teams for sure, but all 3 of those top 3 teams are wild cards. The Giants went off after some veteran guys, but none of those are really like great guys. But also, if the pass rusher becomes available, that might be hard to pass up too. The Giants, I would also consider trading back at 7 as well. The other rumor that's interesting that's come out now is a lot of corners have been mocked to the Giants, whether it's Stingley or Sauce Gardner. Maybe they're thinking they're going to trade Bradbury too, so don't be surprised if that rumor comes out, if Bradbury is traded, or even if Bradbury gets traded during the draft after they make the pick.
If Gardner is sitting there at 7, the Giants have to draft him. You're talking about a guy that could be a shutdown corner of the century. They're comparing his skills to a Darrelle Revis / Jalen Ramsey. And if he becomes anywhere close to Darrelle Revis or Jalen Ramsey, you're talking about an elite defender. Now, I do have a problem with his size. He's not Jalen Ramsey's size. Right. Thin guy. He is tall. He's going to have to get a little bit beefier. Does it affect his speed? I'm very hypocritical on Sauce Gardner, even though I think he's a fantastic prospect. I think Stingley is still the guy that stands out of all the corners in this year's draft. Maybe because he plays for LSU. Maybe that Jamar Chase is speaking highly of him and has played with him. And Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receivers in all of football, all-pro player. And when he says that Stingley is the best corner in this year's draft, I would believe him because he played against him. So that would only tell you one thing, that if Stingley's defending him in practices and stopping Jamar Chase, don't you think he could do that in the NFL? So it's going to be very, very interesting when it comes to the corner position and where the Giants go in this year's draft at 5 and 7. Because remember, the Giants are not loaded on the back end of their draft. No. They're loaded on the front end with the 2 first-round draft picks. And I think they got a 4th in the Chicago trade as well. Yeah. So going into this draft, their first, second, and third rounds are so very important. And they got to draft right. They got to make the right decisions because they don't have a lot of money. They overpaid guys like Galladay in the offseason last year. They're rebuilding. Now, their coaching staff is, I think, very good. It's definitely better than we've seen it in a very, very long time with the offensive coordinator that they added and the defensive coordinator that they added and obviously the new coach in Dable. I think where the Giants are sitting right now, they're positioned very well. Now, they just got to make sure that they're protecting Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones is going to be ready for this season.
The Giants just have to make sure they don't do what past GMs did and just take their guy just because it's their guy, even if it looks like a reach. We saw Jerry Reese do that a lot at the end of his tenure. We saw Dave Gettleman certainly do that at certain points. Not that they were horrible drafters, but they could have been a lot better in terms of the true value. And this GM, obviously, he's not going to duplicate everything from Buffalo that Brandon Beane has done, but they've always seemed to get good true value there. So hopefully he could translate at least to some extent to the Giants, especially in the trenches, though. They need that. If they don't do a pass rusher in the first round, hopefully they do it in the second, and they definitely need at least one offensive lineman with one of those first 2 picks in the first round.
You're looking at Baker Mayfield. What are the Browns going to do with him? Now, there are stories coming out of Cleveland that at first they were not going to take anything but less than a first-round draft pick. We were talking about Carolina looking for a quarterback. They did give up their second and fourth with the New York Jets last year for Sam Darnold. It hasn't worked out over there. I don't think they're giving up on Sam, as well as they shouldn't. They should give Sam another chance, but they need a quarterback that's going to challenge him. Baker Mayfield would be the perfect fit right now. Both guys were drafted in the same draft. Baker has turned out to be the better quarterback of the two. Where the Carolina Panthers are with their coach, Rule is sitting right now on the hot seat. If this team doesn't take 2 steps forward this year, he's going to get fired. And why not go after Baker Mayfield? Do you think that Malik Willis will be sitting there and he'd be the guy right off the bat to be your guy that's going to save your chance of keeping your job? I wouldn't bet on it. There is nobody. Pickett is not the guy where I think you can trust that he's going to step right in and be that guy that's going to keep you your job as well. So being that Rule is on the hot seat right now, I would absolutely make a call to the Browns and see what you can get for a guy like Baker Mayfield.
You wonder, too, with the lack of draft stock that they have, too, what their plan is to be able to either, 1, accumulate it back, or 2, make that kind of big
Let me
move.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you get Baker Mayfield, if you stay healthy all season long, are you a playoff team if you're Carolina? The NFC's weak.
I would say no, just because they have to play a lot of the NFC West. Like, if they were playing last year's schedule, I'd probably say yes, though, because they are still talented in a lot of other areas. That's why I'm saying they might be able to afford to do that if they have to trade maybe next year's draft picks. I think at this point, you're not going to have to trade number 6, but they shouldn't be drafting a quarterback at number 6 nevertheless, because you're not going to get the true value anyway. Even if you don't get Baker Mayfield, at least just try out Darnold for one more year. If Darnold doesn't work, he's gone. Just let him go. But at that point, you got other options next year that are better as the quarterback.
Darnold's not going to work. I think he's done. I feel so bad for that kid.
It's more of the situation of, I don't think you're investing good into the true value, because we've seen quarterbacks get quickly just replaced that easily, and you don't want to waste a 6th overall pick doing that. They're talented in other areas. They might be a playoff team on an easier schedule because the NFC is very weak right now. The North is horrible. The East is bad. And their division, Tampa's very good, but beyond that, there's not much to love. So, yeah, they could be. That's why I'm saying you have to make that 6th pick be valuable for an offensive lineman. Either trade for Baker Mayfield with next year's picks, or maybe wait for his value to fall, or just trust Sam Darnold.
You trade for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield could take you over the hump. The NFC is very weak. It's really a 4-team race. If you add somebody like Baker Mayfield in the NFC, in that division, who's the only team that you have to worry about in that division? Tampa. I think you have a good chance to be a wild card team, and you can win 10 games with Baker Mayfield. Right now, you still have Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
If he stays healthy, you have one of the more prolific offensive running backs in all of football. You have some good wide receivers. J.C. Horn will be back this year. This defense should be very good. You're a playoff team with Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to be able to help you. Plus, he's got a lot to prove. You saw what the Browns did to him. Him going to Carolina and with the weapons that they have over there, I think Baker Mayfield could absolutely be a huge pickup for a team like Carolina. So I think they're a playoff team if they get Baker Mayfield, and I think he's the best fit over there. As far as Kyler Murray, I don't know where he's going or if the Cardinals are going to sign him and give him what he wants, but he's already come out and said that he wants an extension. He didn't like how the Cardinal players and management treated him after the playoffs last year, defriended all of the Arizona Cardinal players and the organization as a whole on his social medias. What does that tell you? It tells you that he's not happy over there. But I do believe that Kyler Murray will get what he wants. I do believe Arizona is not stupid enough to let this kid go. They need to make this kid a little bit happier, and very, very soon, because right after the draft, you have OTAs, and then the football season's like a month and a half away from now. So you don't want to piss off this kid where he's going into the season where he's not going to be happy and he's not going to play at the top of his game.
Yeah, I think they'll end up eventually paying him. I can't see them just trying to lose a franchise quarterback again. They've been a bad quarterback franchise. They switched him right away for Josh Rosen after 1 year after drafting him to pair with Kingsbury. So they have to make that kind of thing
Let's just get rid of
work.
him and get another one.
Now that you sign Kingsbury to an extension, you really don't have a choice. I think it'll end up being between $35-40 million a year. I don't think he'll get the price that he wants, but I think they'll make it work.
I think so too.